After about 30 hours of Windrose, here are tips and tricks that I wish I knew sooner that will help you guys out tremendously. Alrighty, first up, do not throw away extra resources. I can't stress this one enough here through my 30 hours so far of Windrose. You will collect everything, and there will be an abundance of resources, everything from wood, from stone, even copper ingots at some point, and copper ore. You will uncover a ton of loot. Do not by any means throw any of this away. I would highly recommend that you go back to your base, have a couple of dump and junk chests to just throw it in, because at some point in time you will need those resources, and grinding those resources over and over and over and over again in any survival game, it takes a lot of time, and it's an easy way to get burnt out on the grinding process of these games. So just make sure you're saving up all those resources. I highly recommend do not drop things on the ground unless you absolutely have no choice. Next up, comfort level. Now I see a lot of players actually sleeping on this mechanic and not really taking advantage of it. What you should be doing is actually building one item from each individual category in the decorations column. If you take a look at here, you can see there's a couple of different bed options, so place which one you want. You cannot stack similar items in the exact same category. So for instance, you can't put two different beds and it counts. You only could put one bed because it's in that same category. So go down the list here, make sure you're placing all of these down. It could be designed, however you like. It could be just be placed on the ground for efficiency, or it could be actually, a full-on decorative base. It also doesn't have to be within close proximity from one another. They can be inside your bonfire radius is all that it has to be for it to count and increase your comfort zone. The one exception here for this that you can actually take advantage of are the trophies. As you continue to complete these challenges inside of the game, you will unlock the ability to craft that said trophy, whether it's a crab trophy, a dodo trophy, boar, wolf, whatever. These can actually stack. So as you see here, I place a crab one, it gives me +1 to my comfort in the bottom left-hand side. I place the dodo one, it gives me another +1. So again, the trophies do stack. On top of the decoration section and the trophies, there's also a couple of other things, like you have the signal fire that also would give you one, the bonfire that would give you one, and a campfire will give you one inside of the crafting benches section at the very top. So again, take advantage of all of these at every single level or upgrade. I would recommend that you're constantly maxing your comfort level out to make sure that you're getting the maximum comfort resting bonus that you can get. Also, speaking of that here, whatever your max level is at any of your bases in your world, your ship will mimic that highest level. So you can also get a rested bonus from taking, advantage of the comfort level at your base to then also replicate that on your ship when you are on the seas. Next up, let's talk about recycling items in the dismantling bench, because a lot of people don't even understand how useful this is and what you can even put inside of this thing. I'm telling you right now, as I mentioned before, you're going to get a ton of loot in this game. You're going to have an abundance of things in your chest that you're not necessarily using anymore, or you will just obviously out level. Well, they're not just gone to waste, and you shouldn't just throw them on the ground. What you should do is craft the recycling bench. You use it to your advantage. Place all of your weapons and items that you either start off with that you've out leveled, maybe the ones that you're not even using anymore, including even things for your ship, like for instance these 12-pound cannons that we have no use for. You can also dismantle those. They give you a hefty amount of individual copper ingots and additional mats, and obviously the grade of the item that you are dismantling would give you a lot more resources and materials back. But again, utilize this to your advantage. Just get a bunch of free materials and resources that you're otherwise are just sitting in your chest being completely useless. Oh, also, if you're worried about the crafting recipe and not being able to craft that item, later on, don't worry about that. Once you collect that item, whether you buy it from a vendor or you find it on your own, that item is now unlocked for the recipe inside of the crafting bench, right? So you're able to constantly craft that in the future anytime you want. So there's no reason to hold on to those extra items. They're just free resources sitting there that you could be utilizing once you recycle them. Next tip I have for you relates to upgrading your gear, man. Take advantage of this. I see so many people, especially early game, because I did the exact same thing, coming into Windrose expecting it to be similar to other RPGs and stuff that you've played, where you don't want to really upgrade anything right off the bat because you're not sure what is good, what is bad, and you're trying to wait for like a epic tier quality item or something in order for you to perform some sort of upgrades. Well, that's going to drastically make the game harder for you. Windrose is actually designed to upgrade your gear any chance you can. If you have the materials, you should be upgrading your gear. If you're going into a new zone or you're going into higher level enemies, you should be upgrading your gear to meet that mark, if not higher. The reason being is there's actually a buff and debuff for being higher level or lower level. If you are higher level than the enemy you're going up against, you actually perform a percentage more damage because they're lower level. Same thing for their defense, right? Your defense. You actually take less damage from enemies that are lower level than you by a percentage margin. Same thing for the enemy though. If you happen to go up against an enemy that is higher level than you, they will take significantly less damage from your attacks, and they will do significantly more damage to you because you're lower levels. So you definitely don't want to go into a fight without having your gear upgraded. Take advantage of it, utilize and consume the resources, farm the resources if you have to then pop off those upgrades to constantly maintain whatever your level is with your level of gear, and making sure that you're going up against enemies that are, corresponding with your level, so you kind of stay at an even playing field. Oh, and this also goes hand in hand with your ship upgrades. You want to make sure you're staying on top of that as well, so then that way your battles on the seas are a lot more manageable, and you're not just getting absolutely decimated by higher level ships than you. You want to make sure you're leveling up your cannons, your hulls, and also your boarding party, because again, like I said, it's going to make a massive difference on how easy or how hard the fights are that you're going up against. And speaking on naval combat, that brings us to another big tip that I know a lot of people don't even realize you can do or take advantage of, and that is building a wharf near a coastline where you're battling ships. I'm sure you guys have been in a ship battle before. You're battling one or two things or trying to take on a hauler and maybe a couple gunboats, and then another party shows up, and then before you know it, you're like 10, 15 ships deep. With that being said here, your damage is obviously going to accumulate on your ship. You're going to be utilizing all of your repair kits, and instead of panicking or freaking out, a really good tip to do is just to place the wharf on a coastline right nearby where you are. All you got to do is when you get close enough to it, jump off of the ship really quick, make sure you have at least 20 wood in your inventory, go ahead and access it, hit the repair option down in the bottom right really fast, jump right back onto your ship, and then continue the fight. It basically gives you a full free 100% repair. You can utilize this to your advantage over and over again, and like I said, it just adds that level of strategy to your overall fight. Obviously, you're not always going to be near a coastline when you are taking on ships, but if you happen to have that leisure or to be able to kite them or troll them to near a coastline, it will make a world of difference when it comes to survivability. Next up, let's talk about recipes, learning how to craft new items, and then even buying and spending some of your coin to buy additional recipes. There's a really cool trick that we found out by accident, honestly, and that is if you happen to join other players, either in your cooperative world or maybe joining another friend on their world and their save to help them do a mission, etc., it's always in your best interest to them to drop the gear that they are wearing or items they have on their hotbar, right? It could be an individual tool, it could be different weapons, you name it, dropping it all on the ground and letting each other pick each other's items up. The reason being is just like it does in your single player world, when you loot that item in your inventory, it automatically teaches you the crafting recipe. And yes, this does even go for the chest piece and the leg pieces that you have to buy from the vendors in Tortuga. So if you are playing in a cooperative experience, you only have to spend the gold for one person to buy the recipe, craft the item, drop it down on the ground for everybody to pick it up. Everybody learns that recipe, and you only had to buy it once. And speaking on crafting, that brings us to another really cool tip, and that is in Tortuga, you actually have two different NPCs that you can buy, and then they will actually serve at your base. And they're really, really important because they do provide additional bonuses and buffs that you otherwise would be missing out on. So for example, we have Jasper here, right? Jasper you can hire for 500 coins, but we can see that he is a trader. As part of him being a trader here, you can see that he provides 30% chance to recover resources spent on upgrading an item. Again, a very good buff here that you could utilize to your advantage when he is doing the upgrades and stuff at the workbench versus yourself and not having that additional bonus. And the second one brings us to this lovely little lady over here, Rosalinda, and if you take a look at her, she is a master alchemist, and what that means is she actually will double the clay bottle production, so you're going to need the clay bottles in order to make potions and such. She'll go ahead and make double for crafting them, and also gives you a 30% chance to craft an extra elixir. Again, for 500 coins, absolutely worth it. You're going to get a bunch of value out of utilizing both of these NPCs at your base to do some of the crafting and whatever they specialize in, and I'm sure we'll find out more of these as we continue throughout the map. Next up, let's talk about lighting, all right? And specifically when it comes to caves and mining, you're going to find out firsthand it is very, very dark, right, inside of these caves, and sometimes even areas on the map according to the time of day. Well, there's actually a setting that you can adjust, and it's not gamma as one would expect from like other games. When you go into the settings here, head over to the video tab at the top, and then if you scroll down, not all the way, but if you scroll down, you will see global illumination. This one here, for me anyways, is set on epic. If you actually reduce this down to low inside of a cave especially, it will then brighten up the cave dramatically, making it to where you don't need to use or craft any standing torches or even have your lantern charged. You can see everything clear as day, and it makes it a lot easier when farming materials. And that's going to conclude our tips and tricks that I wish I knew sooner here for Windrose that should help you guys out. As always, if you have anything additional to add to this that other players could benefit from, drop them down below in the comment section. If you guys found this video helpful, please be sure to drop a like here for the algorithm and subscribe here to the channel for more Windrose guides. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all on the next one.